This is outrageous. You're accusing her of being a Holocaust?
Please, Scott. Hold on a second.
This is outrageous.
Excuse me,
I'm
Scott.
not going to say that.
Stop. Everybody stop. Everybody stop for a second. Excuse me, Scott. Nobody accused her of being a Holocaust in question.
You were totally misconstruing this.
Scott, literally, we played it for the American people to see.
Yeah, and every
hear.
single person's going to see it my way.
She literally did not answer. She did not answer the question the way you want to answer the question, and that question has an answer. What is the answer?
The answer to that question is you're an idiot.
Neither of you want to answer a very simple question.
So now you're accusing us.
Are you allowed?
Are you accusing us?
Is Harvard?
Are you accusing him and me?
Is Harvard allowed, or any school? Is any school Holocaust denialism?
That's the box they have to check.
Which is card-carrying, textbook anti-Semitism. You
She
think
wasn't responding
doesn't
to
count?
that. She wasn't responding to that, and is a patently ridiculous assertion.
Why are you assuming that she wasn't responding to that when she gave
Because
that answer?
Because I'm a thinking human being who can see what portray this interaction the way you are.
Absolutely, no one said that. It is
How are you
disingenuous.
portraying it? How are you portraying
It's
it?
disingenuous. It's disrespectful.
I think
wrong.
the question was disingenuous.
Excuse me. Well, there's the answer to your question. Thank you, Brad. I appreciate that. Coming up next.
Hello, everybody. Guys, let's get right into this segment. This is the Abby we all love to see. She just had it with these two idiots. Check this out, and we'll talk about it.
Tonight, Trump's education secretary sounding uneducated on several issues. Linda McMahon was grilled on Capitol Hill today over her department's DEI cuts, and the former WWE executive turned education authority didn't sound all that comfortable with the facts.
Would you say that it would be an illegal DEI for a lesson plan on the Tulsa Race Massacre?
I'd have to get back to you on that.
Do you know what the Tulsa Race Massacre is?
I'd like to look into it more and get back to you on it.
Okay, so I look forward to that. How about the book Through My Eyes by Ruby Bridges, for instance?
I haven't read that.
Have you learned about Ruby Bridges?
If you have specific examples you'd like
That was a specific example.
After her department demanded schools sign a certification declaring they were DEI-free, McMahon was asked to clarify whether or not teaching African-American history is now illegal.
I do not think that African studies or Middle East studies or Chinese studies are part of DEI if they are taught as part of the total history package. So that if you're giving the facts on both sides, of course they're not DEI.
I don't know what both sides of African-American history would be.
What is the other side of African-American history? Does anyone know? I don't.
This is a person charged with crafting the education agenda to make our kids competitive in the 21st century. This is a president who mocked DEI and said that we were hiring, the Biden administration was hiring unqualified people. This is the least qualified education secretary in our history. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Look, she referred to artificial intelligence, which was, it is.
Well, let's play the clip because I'm using enough to play it again.
This morning, I wish I could remember the source, but that there is a school system that's going to start making sure that first graders or even pre-Ks have A1 teaching, every year starting, that far down in the grades. And that's just that's a wonderful thing. And so it wasn't all that long ago that we're going to have internet in our schools. Woo! Now, okay, let's see A1 and how can that be helpful?
Maybe she wished she had remembered the sauce.
Steaks for first graders, I agree.
But there's more where that came from, right? In the letter that she wrote to Harvard threatening them, it was riddled with grammatical errors and typos. She didn't know what the Tulsa Race Massacre was. She oversees the Office of Civil Rights in the Department of Education. And it doesn't just end with her, right? It is a series of unqualified hires the president does. Either you're a big donor and you give money, you get a cabinet post, or you praise him on Fox News like Pete Hegseth or Jeannie Pirro and you get these appointments. That's his qualifications.
Look, there's definitely people in the Trump cabinet who are qualified. I may disagree with them on their duplicity and their hypocrisy, but people like Marco Rubio can get asked practically anything about foreign policy and foreign relations, and he would probably know how to answer. I would say the same thing about Scott Bessent. But then you have some dum-dums. You just do. And every time they go in front of Congress and they get asked questions about their departments that they should know about, they're incapable of answering. You've got Kristi Noem, who doesn't know what habeas corpus is. You've got Pete Hegseth, who couldn't answer the most basic questions about memberships in organizations that we belong to. And then you've got this lady who doesn't know what the Tulsa Massacre is. I recommend that she watch Dreamland, The Burning of Black Wall Street, which was a movie made by CNN. Excellent, so you can get an education in like, maybe an hour. And Ruby Bridges, how does she not know somebody who was so crucial when it came to education in America and changing education in America? I guess we should at least be happy that she didn't think it was a bridge.
I mean, what was fascinating was at one point she was questioned about her use of note cards. Just watch this.
Morning. He truly believes, as do I, that the best education is that is closest to the child. Times even this morning. He truly believes, as do I, that the best education is that is closest to the child.
So as she's trying to answer a question, an aide is sitting there with a stack of note cards, presumptively with answers on them. This is almost like getting help on an exam. I mean, I don't... Look, presidents can pick whoever they want in their cabinet. That is definitely true. But this president has also said that it's about merit, that they want to get DEI out of every part of American life. Why on earth, then, do they have someone who seems not prepared or qualified, perhaps, for the job that she's been placed in?
The main difference between this cabinet and the Biden cabinet is that these people are actually allowed to go in and see the president, unlike the Biden cabinet, who were apparently not allowed to see the sitting president.
Are you going to answer for this, or are you going to change the subject?
The only thing I care about for the education secretary, the literal only thing I care about, is what they are doing to close the Department of Education. I don't care how many books she's read. I don't care what answers to gotcha questions she has. I just want to know how quickly can we close the department.
How is that a gotcha question to ask? Do you know what the Tulsa Race Massacre is, or do you know who Ruby Bridges is?
You know what the answer to that question she should have given?
Yeah.
She should have said, Congresswoman Lee, it was Summer Lee asking the question, as a Congresswoman in Pittsburgh, why is it that when you were asked to vote, is anti-Zionism, anti-Semitism, you chose the side of the terrorist? How is it when you were asked to condemn anti-Semitism on campus? That's an education issue. She took the side of the terrorist. Summer Lee is the exact wrong person, and it's faux outrage for Democrats to sit here and take Summer Lee's side against Linda McMahon.
I want to play, because since you brought up the anti-Semitism of it.
And before we get to that, even the way he says why sounds racist. Why? But anyways, the both sides of black history is, they've talked about this before. Republicans talked about this. They're trying to soften the brutal and violent days of slavery by talking about the good things that came from it, right? They don't ever teach us about the good things that came from it. They try to talk about how slavery helped black people, and I'm not kidding, with becoming expert in different skills like carpentry or whatever that they were forced to do or face brutal death. Like, this is incredible. This is the core reason why they attack education, is for topics just like this. They want to be able to claim that they're the victim, that somehow things like DEI is actually anti-white. It's literally for things like that. It's not difficult to understand. The more you learn about American history, and inevitably African American history, you will learn within minutes. All these arguments Republicans make against things like DEI, woke, it's just based on racism. It's all racism and bigotry and their desire to continue it. And that clearly a brutal injustice has been done to this group of people. Till this day, those people must walk with a weight vest called racism. And I don't know, this may be out of this world thinking, but maybe we should do something about that. Just a thought.
All. She was pressed by a different congressperson about all the different things that you may or may not be allowed to teach in American universities. Listen to this.
Would the Harvard government department be compelled to hire faculty that believe the 2020 election was stolen?
I believe that there are rights to freedom of speech, but on campuses and universities of colleges and universities across the country, freedom of speech should be allowed.
Does refusing to hire a Holocaust denier as a member of Harvard's history department faculty count as an ideological litmus test?
I believe that there should be diversity of viewpoints relative to teachings and opinions on campuses.
A diversity of viewpoints about Holocaust denying?
That's not what she said.
That's not what she said.
That's not at all what just happened there.
Hold on.
She's saying that college faculty are uniformly partisan and both progressive radicals.
All right.
And that's
I guess let me just read again what was just said. The question, does refusing to hire a Holocaust denier as a member of Harvard's history department count as an ideological litmus test? She says, I believe there should be diversity of viewpoints relative to teachings and opinions on campus. I don't understand.
She was not answering what is a patently ridiculous question. And no Republican should take any lectures about anti-Semitism right now from Democrats.
But why on earth would she not be able to answer that question?
She has the same answer that every Republican has had for time immemorial. Why isn't there any diversity of viewpoint in the faculty at a college?
So what is the answer?
It was a joke of a question.
Okay.
It was a joke of a question.
So what's the answer?
An answer.
What's the answer?
The answer
is it an ideological litmus test to have a Holocaust denier be asked
It won't
to
answer.
ask?
That's not an ideological. Is there an ideological litmus test that you have to believe in progressive radicalism to get hired now? Because that's what it seems like to us.
Holocaust denialism.
That's the box they have to check.
Which is card-carrying, textbook anti-Semitism. You think doesn't count?
She wasn't responding to that, and is a patently ridiculous assertion.
Why are you assuming that she wasn't responding to that when she gave
that
answer?
Because I'm a thinking human being who can see what a rational person would say to a ridiculous question.
She didn't.
It's so disgusting. What do you, Abby, and anyone else that don't see it your way are not thinking people? You're such a vile, stupid-faced little worm.
Say that's a ridiculous question.
You were totally misconstruing this.
Scott, literally we played it for the American people to see.
Yeah, and every single person's going to see it my way.
She literally did not answer. She did not answer the question the way you want to answer the question, and that question has an answer. What is the answer?
The answer to that question is you're an idiot. To that congressman. That is the answer to that question.
What is the answer? Will the federal government, if somebody comes in and says, I don't believe the Holocaust really happened, will the federal government bring the hammer down on universities for saying that is not a viewpoint that we are allowing on our campuses?
The question would be
that the answer ought to be no, but it sounds like neither of you want to give an answer.
No, the answer ought to be what kind of litmus test is Harvard putting on its faculty now?
Yes.
Only 3% of its faculty are Republicans.
I mean, she didn't have a note card in front of her to tell her the answer, and this is what happens when you have somebody who lied about having an education degree. They didn't teach about the Holocaust maybe when she was getting her French degree.
If she
actually has that.
You're accusing her of being a Holocaust denier?
Scott. Hold on a second.
Look at him.
Excuse me, Scott. Stop. Everybody stop. Everybody stop for a second. Excuse me, Scott. Nobody accused her of being a Holocaust denier.
You're implying that that's what she wants.
No one did that.
Implying.
It is completely.
The line of inquiry here
just
is an
stop for just a
implication
second.
that she's like, sure,
it is
let's do that.
completely disingenuous for you to sit at this table and say that we accused her of being a Holocaust denier.
I think it's disingenuous to portray this interaction the way you are.
Absolutely no one said that. It is
How
disingenuous.
How are you portraying it?
It's disingenuous. It's disrespectful.
I think
the question was disingenuous.
So, excuse me.
It was a disingenuous question.
How is it a disingenuous question? The other part of the question is, if you are an election denier, and Harvard said you can't be an election denier and teach at this school, is that a litmus test?
The question is, what litmus test is Harvard putting on its faculty?
Okay,
we
listen,
know they have one
gotta
set of
go,
ideology.
but it is very clear that neither of you want to answer a very simple question.
So now you're accusing us.
Are you allowed?
Are you accusing us?
Is Harvard?
Are you accusing him and me?
Is Harvard allowed, or any school? Is any school allowed to say that these are facts, and if you don't believe in facts, you cannot teach here? Are they allowed to do that?
The question is, what is the litmus test
Scott,
today? And what kind of faculty do you want?
My
do you want
question.
people who all have the same views or
when you
diversity
answer
of
my
views?
question with a question, you are dodging.
When
so
you ask me questions that I think kind of ridiculous framing of this issue, then I think you're misconstruing the issue.
How is it a ridiculous framing?
Because
you either believe that there are things that are facts or you don't.
I do believe in facts, and I also believe that that member of Congress was creating a disingenuous, ridiculous question designed for this gotcha moment right here.
Okay, it is very telling that you are not able or willing to even entertain an answer. You could answer the question right now and you refuse to do it.
Wait a minute. Look, Harvard has a right to have any litmus test they want for their faculty. They're a private institution.
Okay, all right. Well, there's the answer to your question. Thank you, Brad. I appreciate that. Coming up next, Karine Jean-Pierre.
Scott is such a snake. He was trying to egg Abby on to, like, what, get her fired or something? Like, what, you calling us a Holocaust denier? Go ahead, do it. Like, he's such a sorry excuser, man. He couldn't even look at her in the eye. Every time he's talking to her, he's looking down. The guy's a coward. And I'll say it for you, Abby. Hey, stupid face. Scott, maybe you aren't a Holocaust denier, and that's a maybe. But we all know the Holocaust deniers are all in your party. And is why you won't answer, Abby. And is why Linda McMahon could not answer that. And is why neither of you will answer that. We all know what's going on here. Republicans can keep trying to play this game with their own brains and the brains of their voters. But come on, this is the party of Jews will not replace us. And the great replacement theory. And this racist conspiracy and that racist conspiracy. Jewish space lasers, Nazi salutes. We know who this party is. The party of Kanye West. That little scumbag, what is his name? Nick Fuentes. I mean, he got cornered and he got so angry. He knows what's happening here. And he knows that the reason that she said that is because, of course, Linda McMahon, the reason that she wouldn't answer or say that there's two sides to the Holocaust or whatever is because she knows who the majority of the Republican voter is. These people are anti-Jew, anti-everything that isn't white people. That's not an exaggeration. But when it comes to Jews, this is the source of 90% of their conspiracies. So Linda McMahon, along with Scott Jennings, wants to dance on this issue and not admit, so that they can continue to pander to who they know are people who believe the Holocaust never happened. Like, think about what I'm saying here. There are people out there that really think, you know what? The Holocaust either didn't happen or it wasn't that bad. Nothing too crazy to see there. And you know what? Maybe Hitler wasn't that bad. And they don't want to admit it, that these people are in their party. And if you push back too hard, that base, that's a big base in the Republican Party, are going to be pissed. And guess who's running for Senate in Kentucky? Stupid face Scott Jennings. What a surprise. Anti-Semitism. Who could have saw that coming on the right? The people that hate literally everyone. Despise people just for skin color. Who would have thought that they would have been anti-Jew? Incredible. That's the Abby Phillip we need. I hope we could see that more. I don't get why she just doesn't do that every night. People would love that. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. I would love to know your comments on all this. I think these segments, the best segments to me are the ones that are most informative, but also most revealing. This was both. But I'm going to leave it there, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please leave a like, subscribe. Really helps push the message out there. And I'll catch you in the next one.